You're on Messy in the Middle with Jeanie. I'm Jeanie. My apologies, I haven't put together a video in a while. I have been, like everyone else, having a crazy holiday season, and I haven't been able to take the time to actually just sit down and do a video. Well, not sit down, obviously, I'm standing. But I am, I have been contemplating how I do my videos and if I should make some changes. And one of the things that I have questions about is, should I take notes beforehand about what I'm going to talk about and then go ahead and kind of use some bullet points as I talk. On one hand, I think that sounds like a great idea. On the other hand, I feel like I'm not sure if that will work for me because I tend to go off topic even when I do have bullet points. So today does not have bullet points. I will maybe try that in the new year. But today I am wrapping Christmas presents. It is Christmas Eve morning of 2024. And I am wrapping Christmas presents, and I'm just seeing in the camera that my hair is a hot mess, so I'm just gonna, fix my ponytail. But I really love Christmas. Christmas is one of my favorite holidays. Christmas and Halloween are my two favorites. I really love any holiday and any reason to decorate my house. And I do change my decorations in my house for the seasons. But I really, really love Christmas. And I love when you walk into somebody's house and it looks like Christmas and it just is warm and welcoming and festive and all of those things. So anyway, today I'm wrapping presents for my husband and my children and some other family members. And I am gonna just talk about Christmas. And I have, we've had, I haven't talked very much this morning because everyone else is still asleep and I'm the only one awake in my house, and so my throat is a little scratchy from that. But we have had Christmases that were abundant and we have had Christmases that were sparse. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about big families at Christmas and how we managed through both, right? So the paper's going to be a little crinkly, so I hope it's not too loud and I hope you can still hear me. When my husband and I got married, you know that we had, he had 2 children from his previous marriages, and I had 4 children from my previous marriage and a previous relationship. And we've talked about that, and when we got married, we were both doing fine for ourselves. We had income that we needed, all of that. And when we got married, both of us had always wanted to go to school. I had always wanted to go to school for cosmetology, and he had always wanted to go to school to learn criminal justice and the psychology and sociology behind that. So he also is very interested in history, so he wanted to learn about history as well. So we elected to put ourselves through school, and it was a personal choice that we made, and we are better for it now. We absolutely made a choice that put us in a place where money was real tight. So if you can imagine, now remember that we've been married for 13 years, so this was a little while ago, but not too far. We, at the time, about a year in, we both were in school, and we were making about $35,000 a year is all, income-wise. Now, he did get some grant money to help with expenses and stuff through school, and but our income, our actual like household income was very minimal, which meant that Christmas was sparse. Those were the years. Christmas was minimal. We did our very best to make sure that everybody felt important and like they were remembered and thought of. But we did things a little bit differently. So in our house, I had a very small Christmas budget. He had always done a little bit larger Christmas, so we kind of met in the middle. Before we got married, when it was just me and the kids, my budget for Christmas was $100. And that was not because I couldn't have done more as much as because I wanted Christmas to be about Christmas and about family and all of that, and not have the commercial, like, oh my God, we have to spend our life savings and go into debt every year because we are spending so much on Christmas. And there are a lot of people in this world that do that. It's a thing. I understand that. And if that's what you want to do, that's up to you. But for me, I didn't want that. And so my Christmas budget was $100. And I found creative ways to do that, to spend $100 on Christmas. One of the things that I did is one year I bought a whole bunch of board games. I don't know if you really realize, but board games are fairly inexpensive. And they also foster that family togetherness that everybody's always searching for, right? With our technology age and everybody on their phones and tablets and everything else, there's a lot of time that's missed, and opportunities that are missed to spend time together and do things together. And I wanted to find a way to really connect with my kids. So so one year I bought $100 worth of board games. And so when they came out, and you can imagine spending, some like, especially card games are like $6. So you get, there were lots of presents under the tree that year. And so the kids and they were to all of the kids. So the kids just got to tear into a bunch of presents, and gosh, they really loved it. And they were young at that point, so that was helpful as well. The two youngest were, that year they were 3 and 5. Yeah, they were 3 and 5. So doing board games was really fun because she was almost 4, because she turned 4 in January, so she was almost 4. So she was just old enough to really start, like, you could pair up with her and play a game with her, and she really loved it. And so we did that, and one year I went to Sam's and I bought an entire case of printer paper, and I bought an entire case of printer paper, and I bought all kinds of markers and crayons and things like that. And kids just love to draw and doodle and color, and if you have small children, you know that they like to do one little doodle in the bottom corner of the paper and then give it to you because their little art project is done, because their attention span is not very long, and so this little doodle in the bottom of the paper is all they can manage to keep track of. And so if you buy a gigantic box of paper and then markers and crayons so that they can color. It was like, it was the best thing. They've really loved that. So things like that. Those are the kinds of things we used to do when I had $0 to spend on Christmas, and I didn't really want to spend a bunch of money on Christmas anyway. And so just some ideas that might get to spark your creativity if you're in the future. Would have been helpful if I would have done this video maybe at the beginning of the month. But in the future, if you're really kind of looking for something, or if you have been agonizing and it's the last minute and you still don't know what to do because your budget is tight, if you have little kids, a giant box of paper that costs like, I don't know, it was cheap paper. It wasn't good quality paper. It was cheap printer paper. And I think at the time, I think the entire case cost me $20, which I think would be, I mean, it's probably closer to 25 or 30 now, but if you, especially if you have a lot of kids and you are frantic trying to think of what you're going to do and you don't have anything, I would highly recommend something like that. You can get just a ream of paper even, and a box of crayons. Crayons are not expensive. And boy, a new box of crayons is, I still to this day love opening a new box of crayons, right? Who doesn't? So brand new, everything's all perfect in the box, and you get to be the first one to color with them. It's pretty awesome. So things like that are really, I feel like, really great for families that are not, just don't have the expendable income to be spending a lot of money on Christmas. And it worked really well for us. The kids really enjoyed it. And so there you go. If that's not your speed, not your style, absolutely, totally fine. I don't judge that. I think everybody has their own way of doing things. And if that doesn't work for you and you need to do more than that, I think that's absolutely up to you and completely reasonable and lovely as well. We've tried to do Christmas in a way that doesn't make our, it's not as material. So that is, that's just our personal preference. So, and especially when we didn't have anything, we didn't really have the disposable income to be able to be just spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Christmas. All right, so there's that. That's great. Here we go. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we had, once we both graduated and we were working and I owned my own business, and we were doing odd jobs in addition to our daytime jobs, and so we had a little bit more available. We elected to do larger gifts, but we still like group gifts. So we would vacillate back and forth between really between feeling like the kids probably wanted something that was theirs, and also feeling like we needed to give them stuff that would bring them together, right? Because your siblings, I don't know what your personal experience is with your siblings, and I know that a lot of people have really hard kind of life stories with their siblings. But I feel like, if possible, I try to remind my kids that your siblings are with you the longest, right? You don't get friends in your life until you're a little bit older. Your spouse or significant other doesn't come into your life until very much later. Your parents are going to be gone out of your life before you, and that's just the reality of life. Your siblings are there for the longest. And when, in my life experience, when when the chips are down and you don't know what to do or who's going to be there for you to support you, you can really usually rely on your siblings. Now, all of that is with a grain of salt, of course, because whatever your situation is with your siblings, maybe it's terrible, and maybe you in your life have not had a positive experience with your siblings. Maybe some of your siblings you have and some of them you haven't, depending on the size of your family and what your personal situation is. But the thing that I tried to instill into my children, especially because there were so many of them, and it's not like we had 20 kids, but we had 6 children, and 6 children is a lot. We were outnumbered 3 to 1. We were kind of screwed. So one of the things that I really tried to instill in them is that they support each other and love each other, because they're the ones that they're going to have. They're as a group are the ones that they're going to have for their whole life. So anyway, and that is a little bit different when you have a blended family, because some of those kids are not, some of those kids, they haven't been together their whole lives. But I will say that we have had really good luck with our kids as a blended family. Not all of them get along well. They just don't. They have their history and their reasons. And so not all of our kids get along well, but the ones that get along really, really well. And they're really good friends, and they pick on each other and they mess with each other and all of that. And I think that part of what we did to help with that, to try to encourage that as much as you can, was doing things like group gifts at Christmas that they enjoyed together. And so we do the top. Oh yeah, okay. So I got these little things. I'm gonna open. They're pretty cool. I got these little things, and I'm not gonna talk really loud about this because, in case somebody's awake and just hasn't come down yet, I don't want them to hear what I'm saying. They are individual. Okay. More boxes. When you order things, you never know exactly how it's going to come to you. So they're little hand warmers. So when you turn them on, it's got a light. It's got like a little LED light, flashlight, and it also has, it tells you how much battery is left. There's a little indicator here. And then you can turn them on, and they're hand warmers. They heat up. And so you can just put it in your pocket, and you can put your hands in your pocket. But they're rechargeable. So you have those ones that you pop them and you shake them. Ooh, it's warm already. That's impressive. You kind of pop them and you shake them, and then you can put them in your gloves or your pockets or your boots or whatever. These are rechargeable, so they don't die on you, and you can reuse them and reuse them. So I did a couple of rechargeable gifts this year. So, but yeah, that's nice and warm, and you can adjust the heat. So if it ends up getting too hot, you can adjust how warm it gets. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so I got these for family and friends. So, and my kids, and so there are, now that I know how they're wrapped, I can open the boxes so that I can get a little bit, I can sort them out a little bit. I used to have a list. I don't know where the list went. I know that I bought enough, but I don't remember who I bought what colors for, because they come in different colors. I don't remember who I bought what colors for, all of that. Anyway, so back to group gifts. one year we bought a trampoline, and we kind of always had a trampoline. There were a couple of times during the kids growing up that we didn't have a trampoline for various reasons. One reason was that we lived in Wellington, and if you know anything about Wellington, Colorado, you know that it is windy like crazy, and you know, there's not a whole lot out there, and so the wind picks up pretty good. It kind of comes down the mountain and picks up speed, blows everything away. So we had so we lived in Wellington, and there was it was summertime, and it was windy, and I think it was towards the end of summer, so they had gotten quite a bit of use out of the trampoline, so much so that the trampoline was starting to fall apart. So it was time for a new one. But we had because we had not only our kids, but we also had neighborhood kids, and they spent a lot of time on that trampoline. So so we were out, it was windy, and the wind picked up and threw the trampoline. Literally picked it up, threw it across the yard, and it was pinned, standing up on its side against the fence, and behind it, we happen to have like an electrical pole behind our house, and one of the stay cables that was connected to it to keep it from blowing over was right behind our yard, and so when it tried to go over, it hit that cable and it couldn't flip over, angles and all of that. So we ended up having the trampoline just stuck, and we were afraid. We lived pretty close to I-25, and we were afraid that if we left it, that the wind would catch it and would eventually work it loose and would throw it onto the highway, and we didn't want to get somebody to get hurt. So my husband, like a pirate in a pirate movie, took a big knife and went out and jumped up as high as he could and stabbed the mat for the trampoline, and like rode it down like a pirate, and had to and cut a hole in the trampoline, because the wind was so hard against it that we couldn't pull it down away from the fence. Like the wind was ridiculous that day. Anyway, so that's how we got it down, was we had to open up the mat so that it would, by putting a hole in it so that it didn't have so much pressure against it. And we were able to get it down. Of course, at that point, the trampoline was dead. No more of that. The frame had been a little bit mangled through the years. We had had it for a few years. The frame had been a little bit mangled through the years, and so we took that as our reasoning for needing a new trampoline. But at the time, we couldn't afford one. So we waited and we saved, and we ended up getting them one for Christmas. And so then that was a really nice group gift. That they were able to, and trampolines were cheaper then. I know they're kind of pricey now, but they were able to have that and play together, and boy, they loved their trampoline. They used to be on that trampoline a lot. So as they got older, not so much, but even we had a trampoline up to our kids. Our youngest is 18. She'll be 19 in January. And we had a trampoline up to maybe 4 years ago. And we ended up getting rid of it in favor of a pool. So we had a backyard pool, one of those that has the frame in it that you have to put together with which was really good sometimes and not so good others, but boy, they had a lot of fun in the pool too. But again, it was a group gift, and it was something that we had, the trampoline, we had gotten rid of the trampoline because they were a little bit older and they didn't like jumping on it quite as much. So we, I think, sold it at a garage sale for $50. But it was still in good shape. That one was still in good shape. It still had all the parts and pieces and everything else. But I think we ended up ultimately going through about 3 trampolines in their life. We went through 2 swimming pools. And so maybe it was a little bit longer ago that we got rid of the trampoline, because we did go through a couple of swimming pools as well. But anyway, group gifts. We got a basketball hoop one time, and like a punching bag and all of that. We had a couple of our kids had some aggression and some anxiety and all of that. Also, we had ADHD in our house, and so because of that, we had quite a few, we had, reasons to maybe need a punching bag. So we got them a punching bag that they could use to help with some of that. Physical activity is really good for ADHD, and when you have aggression, having somewhere to put it is always really nice. And so yeah, so one year we did a basketball hoop so they could play together, and a punching bag. One year we did do video games, so one year we did a PlayStation 4, so it was more recent. We did a PlayStation 4 and some games, so obviously we're doing better than financially, because that's not a cheap gift. But we did try to, so then the games we got were more individualized to them, but they all got the one big gift, which was the PlayStation itself. So we were all about making sure that they were sharing and all of those things. So anyway, just some ideas. But our Christmases, so we have always made a concerted effort to spend time with family on Christmas. So we have not only Christmas celebration, but also, how about if I just don't cut myself with the scissors? Goodness. We have a Thanksmas celebration that we do with my side of the extended family, and then usually on Christmas, and that's a different day. We don't do that on Christmas. And then on Christmas, we usually have dinner at our house with all the kids, and then I've talked about Isaac. With Isaac, it was hard for him to go places, and he was uncomfortable a lot, so it was nice to have a holiday where we just would stay at home. So Thanksgiving and Christmas we've always hosted. It's just kind of become a thing that we do. We have friends that are not from here, and so they'll come over and enjoy the day with us because their family is far away, and so if they're in town and didn't go visit their family, they'll come and spend time with us. One in particular, you'll hear me refer to him from time to time as my second husband. Hi, Slope. And so he was on our first date. He came with the marriage, and I have learned to love him for who he is, and when you just take people at their face value, and I feel like when you meet people, there are always things that you love about them and things that are a little bit maybe not your favorite about them. But I feel like if you can just learn to appreciate all of those things that make up a human, and and just kind of decide if you're gonna love somebody or not. And I know that with this particular human, things can go either way depending on who you are. For me, I've just always just taken him at face value and loved him for who he is. So, but he has been part of our marriage since the very beginning. So I don't know what it would be like without him. He does live about an hour away, so it's not like he's over every day. But I'm sure that for those of you that are married, there's somebody who's a friend of your spouse that you would have probably never been friends with if you hadn't met your spouse, but because they're there and they're in your life, they've become just part of your existence and your everyday. And so yeah, that's my sloop. So so he usually comes over, and then we, occasionally have other people that will pop in that maybe don't have, like I said, family close, that sort of thing, and so it's nice. It's nice to just kind of be at the house and relax and enjoy the time. Today I am going to work from home so that I can be available and be under the same roof with my children. But I will be working, and I will be starting that here shortly. So I hope that all of you have a really Merry Christmas. I hope that the little hints about ideas for doing gifts for a big family are helpful, because I know that it was hard sometimes to come up with ideas. And if you are a person who has a large family but has the expendable income to just shop and buy whatever you want, I applaud you. I think that's fantastic. But not everybody does, and so today I just kind of wanted to talk about some ideas about how to maybe think about it a little bit differently if you are not in a situation where you can afford that, but you feel like you need to do something big and something, it's Christmas. As a holiday, it's kind of grandiose. So if you can figure out ways to make it feel a little bit bigger, sometimes that's really what helps. So I hope that all of you have a really Merry Christmas. And I will probably, we have our Thanksmas this weekend, so I probably won't be back until next year. And my apologies for not thinking of doing this video at the beginning of the month rather than waiting till the end of the month and right at Christmas, because how's that's going to be helpful? But maybe you haven't gone shopping yet because you're still pining over what you might need to do, and maybe this will be helpful. I hope you have a really great day. And I'm going to wrap the rest of these presents, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.